Well, now we're looking at vision. And, one of the first questions that often comes in this kind of thing is, why do we really need to form a vision? Well, there's this old adage that says, if you aim at nothing, well, you're certainly going to hit that. Whereas if you aim at something, you've got a bit more chance of hitting it. So one of the key ingredients to leadership is the ability to choose a direction and then to engage other people in getting involved, in following you in that direction, and then to be able to deliver on that vision and turn it into a reality. That's all about what that, we had FED, future, engage, and deliver. I mean, having a vision, that helps to bring some sense of purpose to life as well. A famous author many years ago, Mark Twain, he wrote, "The two most important days in your life are the day that you're born and the day that you find out why." Most of us tend to live our lives more or less by accident, it would seem. We live as it happens. Stuff happens, we react to it, and so forth. But a chap called Simon Sinek, he said that real fulfillment tends to come in our lives when we find purpose in our lives. In the Bible, there's a passage in Proverbs chapter 28 that talks about if the people don't have a vision, then they will perish. And I think that's very true, both as individuals and as organizations and as the people that we lead. We have to give a sense of purpose in the directions that we set. Vision is also powerfully motivating. I'm sure you all know about Walt Disney. He was initially fired from a newspaper because they said he lacked imagination and he didn't have any good ideas. Oprah Winfrey. At age 22, she got fired from her job as a television reporter because they said she was unfit for television. Steven Spielberg, he was rejected from film school. Not once, not twice, in fact, but 3 times he was thrown out. Michael Jordan, he was cut from his high school basketball team because they didn't say he'd got it. Thomas Edison, he failed about 10,000 times before he successfully invented the light bulb. And yet, all of these people became massive successes. Why? Well, because they had a strong sense of vision, a purpose that burned and they could not let it go. And that's what leads talented people to become really successful. It's often their sense of personal vision. Good managers, they need to be able to respond to the needs around them. But leaders, they need to see beyond the immediate needs, and they need to be able to create a vision of how things could be better. And then they need to lead the people towards that. They're not expecting to be the solution themselves. They're not necessarily the best placed to carry out the activities, but they are there to paint a picture that is clear enough that it will motivate other people to engage in that vision. I can think of David, King David from in the Bible. Well, actually just before he was king, and he was being chased around by Saul, who was the king of the time. And this is maybe 3,000 years ago. He was a young man, but he had been anointed as the second king of Israel. His predecessor, Saul, the first king, he was not happy to hand over the crown and instead was searching for David, wanting to kill him. And in the first book of Samuel, chapter 22, we see that David escaped out of Saul's plans to catch him, and David made his way to hide in a cave. His father and his brothers then joined him there, and in addition to those, it says in the Bible, all of those who were in distress or debt or discontented gathered around David and he became their leader. Wouldn't you love to have those 400 grumpy people around you? And yet somehow he had to take this on. He became their leader. Whether he really wanted it or not, that was where he was at. And God had put something in him. The people who were there, the people who were following him, the people who threw in their lot with him, they were distressed, meaning they're emotionally upset. They were in need of care and attention. There were those who were in debt. They didn't have any stuff with them. And there were those who were discontented. They'd left previous leaders. They'd fallen out with other people and so forth. And so this is the crowd that gathers around the young David. And we see by the second book of Samuel, so a few chapters later on, David is described as having an army of loyal warriors. He describes them as his mighty men. And it's the same people. But how has he taken them from this group of discontented, in-debt, dishevelled mob? He's taken them through to being a team of mighty men. How is it possible? How did he do it? Well, I don't think he really showed off about it, but people just knew that he was the one who had been anointed by Samuel, and he had a sense of self-confidence in that. They could see his skills, his passion, his vision, his faith, and his commitment. And he didn't keep things for himself. He routinely engaged in encouraging and building up those around him. We can see he did also know how to organise people to use their skills and their gifts, and he was able to give them a sense of purpose as a group. And because of all these things, he also loved them and they loved him, and that made him a great leader. David's vision, which actually came from God, allowed him to inspire other people. And his character, which was full of integrity, it gave them the confidence to follow him. So, there are 5 purposes to having a vision. It shows us where we're headed. We can plan for it, we can prepare for it. It provides motivation and it inspires us to keep on going, particularly if it's a very stretching kind of goal. It helps us to keep moving forward even when there are obstacles. Setbacks are a part of it, but they're kept in perspective by what we're aiming for. And it provides focus. In all the different distractions and all the noise, a vision is something that helps to keep us focused on what really matters. Fifthly, it gives us meaning. It's a purpose. It answers the question of why are we doing this? And that is very powerful and very necessary.